Thank you very much, Jazz. I'm Max. I'm an alcoholic. I'm just going to read the page that I chose. It's just halfway down on 164 out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless and keep you until then. I love that. I love that reading. I love that page. It's my favorite chapter out of the big book. I think that, I know this is the subject of gratitude, and I think that it's really fitting that I'm here doing a chair on gratitude, purely because if it wasn't for the individuals in this meeting, I don't think I'd be here. I know that these individuals work through God. I know that God is in charge in the whole deal. But if it wasn't for these individuals, Daniel's here. I haven't seen Daniel in ages. I miss Daniel so much. I love you, Daniel. It's so nice to see you. Jazz, everyone. If I don't mention your name, like Trini, there's just so many people here. Terry, Evelyn, Cindy, Cynthia. I'll spend the whole 25 minutes going through the names, but I'm just grateful. I'm grateful, and the reason why that I chose that page is because I find it so apt. It's like great events have come to pass for me. I came here, I did what people told me to do. I followed Russell around like a complete madman because I just couldn't sleep. It was like something out of Fight Club. I was like Ed Norton. I was completely mad. I think it was an Australian conference, and there were loads of people there. And I remember it was like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning. I was like 3 days sober. And I remember saying on this thing, I need help. Could someone help me? Please, can someone help me? And out of all these people, Daniel called me. Daniel took the time out of his busy day to call me. So what I'm trying to say here is that I'm grateful that the people before me paved the way and showed me and taught me by example what I'm supposed to do. Because what happens is that great events have come to pass, and I feel like I step back out, and I don't feel so good when I do that, And these things in my life are miracles. There are blessings everywhere, but I've got to remember that, I can't forget that there was a time when I was completely and utterly destroyed from alcohol, and there was no one. No one wanted to be near me. I didn't have a baby. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have friends. People like Daniel wouldn't take their time out of their day to call me because they knew that if they contacted me, they would probably get hurt, because that's what I did. I caused pain. I caused myself pain. I caused other people pain. I was a hurt person, so I hurt people. I didn't mean to do it. But the road to hell is always paved with good intentions. But essentially, I was a sick man. And because of the 12 steps of God and Alcoholics Anonymous, I am now, on a daily basis, as long as I maintain, a well man. I'm sure that my partner may disagree with that, but she's not here, so that's okay. I'll get away with it. That's the famous line of every alcoholic is, I'll get away with it. You know how many times I used to say that? I used to say, I'll get away with it. The insanity of that one was I could never get away from myself. I would always say to myself, I'll get away with it this time. But the thing is I never did get away with it. I'm just so grateful for the awareness that I have today. I'm so aware. I'm so grateful that I know where the exits are today. I know that if I'm resentful, it's like, okay, Max, it's not about strength. This is about speed. Where's the exit? Forgiveness, acceptance, compassion. It's all about speed for me and agility. I have to be like a sobriety ninja. I always wanted to be a ninja, but, I'll just be a ninja in AA, that's fine. I'll be honest with you, I'm grateful that I just came off the meeting. I just came off a meeting and I heard Greg D speak. I love Greg D. it's amazing when you hear people down the line from you. It's like whenever I've sort of heard, you know, it's like if you try and share after Russell shares, you know, you just can't, you know what I mean? Or you try and share after Daniel shares. It's like, you know, it's sort of like, I just want to say, you know, what he said. That's what I want to say. I want to say what the previous guy said. But, you know, I'm just so grateful that the big book comes alive and that great events come to pass for me and countless others. I'm grateful that, you know, that I could never transmit something I hadn't got. You know, for a long time I was doing this deal and I thought to myself, you know, why am I not getting what I'm supposed to be getting? And I guess I just was going about it wrong. I thought the secret to the deal was physical sobriety. I thought as long as I don't drink, I'll be okay. The problem with that is that I wasn't using recovery, so I had to, as an alcoholic, use something. So I used everything else that wasn't God, essentially. And I found myself in a very dark hole that kept getting darker because I couldn't stay stopped. You know, I could stop, but I couldn't stay stopped. And everything in my life today I owe to God, you know, and that's what I want to say. I'm grateful for God, and I'm grateful for all the miracles and blessings in my life that have happened as a direct result of working all 12 steps and connecting with the power on a daily basis, sometimes on an hourly basis. I don't get it right a lot of the time. I do lose my temper sometimes. I do forget to pause. I do forget to do my step 10s. I do forget to contact people like Russell and Daniel. I do forget to go to Russell's Saturday workshop. I forget to do all these things that God put in my path because God wanted to help me, right? Because I'm one of God's kids. And God's kid, you know, God wants me to help God's kids do what needs to get done, clearly, because he put these people in my path and gave me all this information that upon the application, I get some form of transformation. And the transformation is really what I'm grateful for. But I'm grateful for my quest and my quest for emotional sobriety. I don't think I'll ever find God, you know. I don't think it's physically impossible. I think I can seek God. I think I can seek these things, you know. I don't think if it's good for me to think that there's ever a destination, because that's like I have arrived. And that feels like ego to me, you know, and I got to be careful with that. I've got to watch that. If I seek God and I seek to grow an image and likeness of my Creator, I think I'll be okay, because I feel like there's humility in that, you know. I see that nothing I own is actually mine. I'm a steward, protecting it for the next generation or the next person. You know, and I guess what I'm alluding to here is the personality change that came about, you know, as a result of having a spiritual experience. You know, because, I mean, talk about, you know, I needed a personality change. You know, I used to come to AA and I used to say, you know, oh, I'm not going to do what they're saying because they want to brainwash me. My brain needed washing. My brain needed washing. You know, it was my thinking that was the problem. The problem lies between my ears, you know. And the thing is that all I need, or all it needs, rather, alcoholism, to take away everything in a second, in a nanosecond, is for me to pick up a drink. And the only thing that in my experience, that keeps me sober, essentially is God. Now, I can find God in people, places, and things, just like I used to find trouble and alcohol and non-conference approved material in people, places, and things. But when I go towards the light, you know, when I seek the Spirit, I always find that I end up okay, you know, because despite what my head tells me, because of all these manifestations of self, because obviously my problem is self, you know, we're talking resentment, fear, you know, I mean, I just anything that blocks me off from that power, it just leads me astray, you know, and I get lost. And there's only so much of that I can take, I feel, you know. I always need to remember, and I suppose that because I didn't get this deal the first time around, you know, it took me a very, very long time. It wasn't until I was completely locked down and forced to be on Zoom, and I had people like Daniel and Russell brought to me by God, you know, and I started following them around and going to every meeting I listened, and I had never heard people in AA speak like this before. So it was like groundbreaking for me. I was used to going to meetings in London where everyone wants to talk about their day. They want to talk about themselves. Usually they're complaining about not getting what they want, you know, and it's all this external stuff. And I just, you know, like in, you know, the readings, you know, I knew there was something more. I thought there had to be something more, you know, and I guessed it was my thirst, you know. You know, it was like when I met Daniel and Russell, it was like, you know, God said, here, Max, have some living water. You'll never get thirsty again. You know, and that's what happens. You know, I only get thirsty when I don't, you know, go and see or, you know, hang around Russell and Daniel, really, or, you know, BYOC and all the, you know, the wonderful meetings and speakers and people who you know, I mean, who've come before me there. And I just, you know, there's like an endless river, of fountain of this beauty and knowledge and fruitfulness it was like, the only thing I can describe it is that it was like my life was like a barren wasteland, you know. It was like a barren wasteland. It was like the scenery at the beginning of The Big Lebowski, you know, with the tumbleweed just rolling by. And now it's like the Garden of Eden, man. It's like, you know, there is a forest, like there's this, it's, you know, and I know I do a lot of meditation and I do a lot of visualization, and maybe that's where that analogy's come from. I don't know, but I feel it, you know, and I feel it in my heart and soul this time. You know, I feel sobriety. It doesn't sit well with me when I don't grow in the image and likeness of my Creator. I can't get away with the things that I used to try and get away from. I don't want to get away from them. And that's the beauty of this, and that's what I'm so grateful for. Because I've had the real taste of the living water, I won't settle for anything less. I can't. You know, it's just not good enough for me. And there's a lot of beauty in that, and I'm so grateful for that. And you know what's crazy for a guy like me? I couldn't stay sober left to my own devices for 5 minutes. I couldn't. And then I just found myself, I mean, I just thought about it right now. You know, when was the last time I really thought about that I wanted to, when was the last time that I felt that phenomenal craving for a drink? When was I trapped in that cycle? Because I forget that there was a time where, you know, I could not do anything. I could not go anywhere without having the drink. I was a slave. I was a, you know, a slave and a prisoner, and I made that prison. You know, God never wanted me to live like that. Through self-will, I imposed myself in that prison. And I suppose, you know, the most heartbreaking thing for me is that I thought that was normal for so long. You know, for so many years, I thought that was normal, that I was just like a bad seed, you know, that I didn't mean any bad, that I knew I was a good guy deep down. I knew I was a good Jewish kid. I knew I was brought up well. I inherently always knew the difference between right and wrong. And whilst I didn't, you know, with all sincerity, do anything that was that bad, I just thought I was like the lowest piece of life form on this planet, you know, and I'm so grateful how everything's changed. Everything's changed. I mean, the big book has come alive. Like, everything has changed. I have a baby boy. I mean, I look after a baby boy. I'm telling you, no one, when I was drinking or taking non-conference approved material, would have dreamed of leaving a baby boy with me. No one would want to have a baby boy with me, because I couldn't go anywhere and do anything without a drink. I couldn't. If I had to go see friends, I had to get a bit loaded before. If I went to, and the supply had to be there, I would have to have an exit strategy. I would have to have the famous, you know, I just need 10 minutes while I just go and do something, you know. I mean, and I just can't believe I used to live like that. You know, I can't imagine the gratitude I have, because I cannot imagine going back to that way of existence. However, I know that if I get disconnected from God, I will find myself there, you know. It says in the big book that if an alcoholic fails to enlarge and perfect his spiritual life, you know, he will not survive the certain low spots and trials ahead. I don't know what's going to come at me tomorrow, but I know that if I do everything that I'm supposed to do and know that I should do and could do, and I stay close to God, that no matter what happens in life, I do not need to take that first drink. And that's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for that my sobriety can work under any circumstance. I'm grateful for the fact that if the money doesn't come in, or I don't get the job, or I don't, you know, someone decides to leave, that I'll be okay. I'll be all right, because I've got God in my life. You know, there was a reason why I was never okay, and it was because I had no God. And I had this bottomless hole that I tried to fill with absolutely everything. And it's just not like that today. Whether I get it or I don't, it doesn't matter. It's just like, what if it doesn't matter? Like Russell says, you know, what really? Like, what? It just doesn't matter, you know. We moved house, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I live with a river at the back. You know, every time the flood warning comes on, I'm like, that's the default. I go to God. I feel like, you know, a little voice comes into my head and says, Max, you know, what if the house is meant to flood? What if the house is meant to flood and you're, you know, supposed to be like Noah or something and you're supposed to get all the animals inside? You know, how do I know? You know what I mean? The spiritual arrogance that I think I know what's best for me, because I never did. You know, what I thought was best for me almost killed me. You know, the people who I thought were good for me were not good for me. You know, they used to steal off me, you know, yet I thought they were my friends. You know, because I had this deep loneliness that I don't feel anymore, and I forget, you know, and I'm so grateful that, you know how grateful I am I don't have that aloneness, that feeling of desperate aloneness. Like I could not sit on my own, you know, I could not be by myself. And I don't have that anymore, you know, because I've got God in my life and I've got all you beautiful people who God put in my life. And I have a purpose today, you know, my purpose is to go around the world, you know, in face-to-face and on Zoom and help new people, you know, and carry the message that I've learned about, and people like Russell and Daniel, Greg, Terry, you know, all Trini, Cynthia, Jazz, you know, Cindy. I'm not going to go through the list again, but, you know, you know what I mean? And carry the message and pass it on. And I, like I said at the beginning, you know, I'm grateful for the honesty as well. I'm grateful that I can say, you know, I'm not perfect. You know, I really am not. But I try, you know, and there is progress. And I do see that. I do see that. And I'm grateful for that. And I don't see it. God helps me see it. You know, but I'm just so grateful for the perspective I have today, you know, that I don't need all the stuff that I thought I needed. You know, I don't care what people think of me today, you know. I really don't, you know what I mean? I decided to take some time off work so I could, you know, experience having my baby boy, you know, and watching him grow. And I've done that. And, you know, someone came around yesterday and was like, hey, Max, like, what's going on? Are you working? What's going on? And I didn't feel the need to, you know, even though I did explain myself, I just didn't want to be rude. So I chose to be polite and civil, but I just don't care. Like, I don't care. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? Russell says it, like, none of these people are going to come and pay my visa bill. You know, you know what I mean? Like, why do I spend all this time? I mean, the freedom that the power of God has given me, you know, and I love that I come to these meetings because I could mention God a million times in here and no one's going to come at me. Where there are places that I go that I do mention God in London in face-to-face meetings, and people say to me, Max, you can't talk like that. You're going to scare away the newcomer. And I say, well, yeah, you're going to kill the newcomer, buddy. Because, you know, you think that the solution is to, you know what I mean, take 5 years to do step 4. You know, maybe we'll do step 9 when we're at like 11 years. Maybe we'll do step 12, you know, like year 15 or something. I mean, whoever gets to year 15, you know, I remember when I got, you know, came here and people were like, Max, you know, go do service, go help people. You know, you've done the steps, now go forth and conquer, you know. Carry the armor of God on you and go shine, buddy. And I would call people, and I'd call around these hospitals and intergroup here in this country, and I'd be like, hi, can I go to a prison, please, and speak to some drunks? And they were like, Max, have you got a year? And I would say, no, I haven't. And they would say, well, you need a year. And I'd say to them, well, how does anyone get to a year if they can't go and help people and carry the message? You know? But you know what? I found other ways, and that was cool. And, you know, maybe one day I'll go and do an head of intergroup job, and I'll change all that. I'll be like, yeah, if they've done the steps, they can go into prison and help people. They can go into a hospital and help people. Because that's what Bill W. did in the book. You know, we wouldn't have this. There are so many points in the book where I realized the power of God and destiny and like the fates aligned. You know, there are not only things that I look at outside that man can create, but there are things that you couldn't make up. If William James hadn't met Carl Jung, if Bill W. went right at the hotel and didn't go left, none of us would be here. I wouldn't be here. So I guess, you know, I'm going to end on this because I don't want to speak for too long, and I think I have spoken for too long, and I tend to do that. And the famous words of any alcoholic are, I'll end on this. But I'll just say, I think I've forgotten what I was going to say. I'll just say, this is hilarious. I'll just say that I have genuinely, but you know what? I'm gonna hand it over to step 3. Maybe God said, Max, you've done it, buddy. That's it. So I'm gonna leave it there. Jazz, I love you. Thank you. God bless you all. I love you all. I'll see you soon.